Okay, good. Would you mind starting all over, Scott? Please.
Okay. We're going to call to order this June 25th meeting of the Alarm Contractors Board. And would you please call the roll?
Yes, Scott Cockcroft.
Here.
Doug Fraker.
Here.
Lou Richard.
Here.
All right, we have a quorum. Did the roll call. Are you ready to adopt the agenda? Has everybody had time to review the agenda?
And do we have a motion to approve the agenda?
I'll make the motion. Doug Fraker makes the motion to approve the agenda as presented.
Lou Richard, second.
We have a motion and a second. Would you call the roll?
Yes, Scott Cockcroft.
Yay, yes.
Doug Fraker.
Yes.
Lou Richard.
Yes.
The ayes have it. Motion carries.
All right, and then on the election of officers, I would think we would table that until we had full board. Do we need a motion for that, or?
I believe we would need a motion for that, please.
Doug Fraker makes the motion to table the election of officers till the next meeting.
Lou Richard, second.
All right, we have a motion and a second. To call the roll, please.
Scott Cockcroft. Doug Fraker.
Yes.
Lou Richard.
Yes.
Ayes have it. Motion carries. We need to go back up there and pick up the minutes.
Sorry about that. Okay. Has everyone had a chance to review the minutes? And if so, do we have a motion to approve the May 12th meeting?
Lou Richard, make a motion to approve the May 12th meeting minutes.
Doug Fraker, second.
All right, we have a motion and a second to approve the minutes as presented. Would you call the roll, please?
Scott Cockcroft.
Yes.
Doug Fraker.
Yes.
Lou Richard.
Yes.
Ayes have it, and the motion carries.
All right, and then we have the legal report, or is that next? Or?
Yes, so that's next. The legal report with Jesse Gentry.
Is Jesse here or on here?
He is. He may be trying to connect. Jesse, if you're talking, we can't hear you.
Hear me now?
We
Yes.
can.
Okay, perfect. I was scared there for a minute because we've had issues with my microphone before. So great. I'm glad you can hear me. Anyway, here we'll start with the legal report with our first case, which is complaint number 20200708081. Summary is the complainant had a security system with a different company, and in January 2020, one of the respondents' door-to-door salesmen came to complainant's home and stated his company could provide the same level of service as her current company for a lower price. Complainant stated that although she agreed, she never received any paperwork, and when she tried to cancel the contract a few days later, she was told she had signed a 3-year contract and that she would have to pay off the balance of the contract. Respondent provided a copy of the contract that appeared to be electronically signed by complainant. Respondent agreed to cancel the complainant's contract and waive all due balances. Complainant stated she was satisfied with his outcome, so the recommendation was to close.
Doug Fraker makes a motion to approve the, I can't think of the verbiage. Recommendations of the attorney.
Lou Richard, second.
All right, we have a motion and a second to concur with the recommendations of counsel. Would you call the roll? I think you're muted, Cody.
Muted. I'm sorry. There you go. Scott Cockcroft.
Yes.
Doug Fraker.
Yes.
Richard.
Yes.
Ayes have it. Motion carried.
All right, thank you. Number 2, which is complaint number 202007901. The summary is that the complainant had an alarm monitoring contract with respondent in December 2019. When respondent contacted complainant's husband to inform him that it would be able to offer them a lower monthly monitoring rate and a credit on their account. Complainant believed this call only lowered their rate and did not put them into an extended contract. Complainant then contacted respondent a few weeks later when it planned on replacing some windows and would need new sensors. Respondent gave complainant a number to call when it was ready to have the new sensors installed and a quote for the sensors. Complainant stated that she asked respondent if she was under a contract at that time, and the respondent said that she was not. Due to respondent's quote for the sensors being higher than that of a competitor, complainant had a different company put new sensors on the new windows, and she then contacted respondent to cancel services with them. At that time, respondent stated complainant would need to pay off the remaining balance of the 3-year contract. Complainant stated she never received a copy of a contract for a 3-year extension. Respondent provided a copy of a recording from the December 2019 call in which complainant's husband agreed to a lower rate and 36-month contract extension. It does not appear that this agreement from the recording was ever put into a written contract and given to the complainant. This would appear to be a violation of Tennessee Rules and Regulations 0090-06-.044, which requires giving the customer a copy of the contract immediately upon execution, and potentially Tennessee Rules and Regulations 0090-06.041 and 2, as there was no use of written materials or otherwise clear and conspicuous disclosures of all material terms and conditions of this agreement. Respondent has offered a reduced contract payoff to complainant, which complainant agreed to. However, there is still the issue based on the lack of written contract. Therefore, the recommendation would be to either do a letter of warning regarding this or to authorize formal charges for the violation of Tennessee Rule and Regulation 0090-06-044. Alarm contractors shall require their employee registrants to provide a copy of a contract to all customers immediately upon execution. This would have a $1,000 civil penalty, as that would still have to have the minimum $1,000 penalty for that violation.
What are you basing the minimum on for that? Is it on the?
It's on the statute. It's on the statute. It says a $1,000 minimal penalty. So that's based on the respondent trying to work with the complainant. I'd recommend it either doing the penalty, which is $1,000, or potentially a letter of warning since they did try to work with them. But that issue seems to be that lack of providing the written contract.
Right. I would hate to see us issue that large of a penalty. I mean, that's what we issue for unlicensed activity.
Right.
But Cody, I do believe that is the minimum, isn't it, Jesse, that we could charge?
It is. It is. So, we wouldn't be able to go lower than that, but we could defer and do a letter of warning if we wanted to, which would then be in their file. This appears to be the first complaint regarding this issue for this respondent. So if a letter of warning was appropriate, we could let them know that in the future, they'd be subject to a $1,000 penalty.
Can I make motions as the chair? Or? Well, I would make a motion, concur with recommendations of council for a letter of warning.
Doug Praker, I'll second that motion.
All right, so we have a motion and a second. Roll go.
Yes. Scott Cockcroft,
Yes.
Breaker,
Yes.
Lou Richard.
Okay.
The ayes have it, motion carries. It's letter of warning.
All right, thank you. Next, we have number 3 on the legal report, which is case number 20200120091. The summary is that the complaint was made by a former employee of respondent. Complainant alleged that respondent performs unlicensed work. The respondent claims it performs electrical work as a contractor, and that when customers want alarm systems installed, respondent refers them to a licensed entity who is the one contracting with the customer for all of its alarm services. Respondent does not subcontract work to this license entity, and we verified this with the license entity. Respondent's website and vehicles advertise for alarm services, and it makes it appear that the respondent is providing those services to the customers. When we investigated this case, the respondent was cooperative with us and appeared to be trying to do what needed to be done to be in compliance with all licensing boards. Complainant and respondent both have legal counsel regarding their disputes with each other. Complainant also told our investigator that he did not want to actively pursue this matter at this time and to, quote, put it on the back burner. It appeared that respondent was attempting to work under the electrical contractor's exemption while complainant was working for them, as the complainant, was a licensed electrical contractor. However, since he left, it's unclear whether there's a licensed electrician on staff, and respondent has never applied for recognition of exemption with this board. A referral should be made to the contractors board as well to the concerns of unlicensed work or contracting in the incorrect name on the contractor's license. Additionally, respondent's company never applied for licensure with this board. Complainant was actually a registered qualified employee with this board, or qualified agent with this board, and an employee of respondent. However, there was never a license for the company. Respondent could get around this issue if it was properly exempt as a licensed contractor, but it would need to take the steps for that recognition. Respondent is still advertising for alarm installation, and based on all of his other services it provides, it would likely be exempt from needing a license from this board. Further, respondent is properly sending another company to do actual alarm installation and not attempting to subcontract this work. Therefore, the only violation would be for respondent holding itself out as an alarm contractor in its advertisements. It may be appropriate to make a referral to the contractors board and to close this case with a letter of instruction and warning for respondent to take care of the issues with the contractors board or remove its advertising from the alarm services or for alarm services if it's not going to apply for the exemption. Therefore, my recommendation is a letter of warning and instruction.
Is there any discussion, gentlemen?
This is Lou Richard. Have we confirmed that the company that they're subcontracting to now is properly licensed?
We have, and we got an affidavit from that company as well that provided details on their relationship.
Then this complaint is not from an end user or a customer. I take it this is from someone that used to work there.
It is. It's from the individual who, and it's very strange, how they set everything up. But the complainant is actually a licensed qualified agent with our board, the Alarm System Contractor Board, and he was just an employee of Respondent, but he was never working for Respondent. Didn't have a company license, if that makes sense. So after he left, he made this complaint. They're engaged in a legal dispute right now over, I think it's some pay issues, potentially some contract issues. So he was, trying to act like he was, I guess, a whistleblower telling, that they did something wrong. But he has also said that he doesn't want to actively pursue it at this time. So I'm not sure if he's trying to use it as leverage for that legal dispute or not.
Right. And I'm not saying that would disqualify it or that doesn't, but we're going to have a hard time pursuing it without any proof from an end user, are we not? Or do we have anything to base the fact he is advertising, I guess?
I think the advertising gets us enough for 62-32-304, which would be holding out as engaging in the business of an alarm system contractor.
Well, let me see if I get this straight. We have a qualifying agent that was working for a company that's not licensed.
Correct.
Why did you do that?
I'm not sure. That's what everything.
It's a violation.
Right.
Oh,
So There's one on him as well for that.
Okay. All right, good.
So, and that's part of the issue, and that's why there's an issue realistically with this board as well as the contractors board, because they need to have a license for their electrical license as well, instead of just having someone with a contractor's license working for them. So it's it's a very messy issue. They haven't done things correctly. I think that they're trying to, and we haven't gotten any complaints against them from any customers, but it is an issue where they're not following the statute as required.
And we don't know for sure if they do or don't have an electrical contractor's license at this point, or
We actually don't right now. We don't know, because when we had initially contacted them with our investigation, the person who was their electrician was the complainant. He had just left.
okay, so he's also an electrician, but they didn't register with the board under the exemption.
Correct. So I would think from when we've looked at their website after the investigation, it changed some of the names of people who work for them now. It doesn't show all of their information in terms of their qualifications. So if they have an electrician on staff, because realistically this business provides mostly, it looks like, lighting and sound installation, different entertainment systems for homeowners. I mean, realistically, they could apply for that exemption as long as they have the electrician back on staff, but they need to make sure that they get that done. We've had this issue before with different companies. I think that they read the statute and think, well, we're electricians, so we're good to go, but they typically have not applied for that exemption.
Right. And did you say that they do contract to? You did verify that they're contracting to a licensed company when the alarms are installed, or they are doing them themselves?
Correct. They have a licensed company who does the actual installation. He, from what they provided with us as well, enters in the contract with the homeowner for installation as well as any monitoring needs. So their website does say, has a little pull down menu. When you click on it, it shows alarm systems basically that they can install as part of their system, but they're not actually doing it. So based on that advertisement, that's where I think we have that violation for engaging or holding themselves out as an alarm system contractor. But from what they've provided, and that entity said that they're the ones who do all of their installation for them as well.
What's the other members' feelings?
This is Lou. Wouldn't they be required, in order to subcontract work, wouldn't they be required to be licensed also?
If they were subcontracting, yes. Since they're entering into, or they're not necessarily doing it as a subcontractor relationship, they're doing it as more of a referral, where they're having this licensed entity come out, it appears, to do the actual installation. They may not need to be licensed for that, but because they're holding themselves out on their website where they're saying that they do the alarm contracting or alarm services, that's where they would need a license, because they're holding themselves out as doing that.
And if they're the ones going out selling the system, then they need to be licensed or file for the exemption.
If they're selling it, that's where it's a little bit different, because we do see this issue pretty frequently where companies will they'll subcontract it out, but they're the ones entering into the contract with the customer. In this situation, we have the licensed entity is coming to the home and entering into that contract separately with the homeowner for the installation. So it does appear that they're trying to follow the law in that regard, but the trucks that they have still say alarm services under all of their other entertainment services they provide. It still has that they're advertising for it. So in practice, they're doing the right thing, but in what they're holding themselves out as doing, they're not.
And it seems that there must be some other relationship there. Why would they do it if they weren't getting something out of it? If there wasn't some sort of a joint venture there, why would they go to the trouble to, why would they put themselves out as installing alarms, or they can have you an alarm installed if they don't get anything out of it? It doesn't make a lot of sense.
I agree. I think, because they're doing all these other services, I'm not sure if it's a way to entice people to, sign up for all of the other services that are, contract for the other entertainment services that they're doing as well. But that's just, I agree. I hear what you're saying, but the proof that we have, shows, I guess they're doing things right in that regard. But it does seem strange, and I think from a business perspective, there must be something that they're getting.
Is this something that you could reach out to them to see if they would file for an exemption or could file for an exemption? Or is that basically what you would do with the letter of warning and instruction?
That's what I would do with the letter of warning instruction. And we could also put in there to let them know that if they either don't take action on this, that we could reopen the complaint within 30 days. We've put that in there before. I'm actually working with a previous respondent on a case, or I was working with them last week, where they're getting everything straightened out with the contractors board, and they will be applying for the exemption here soon. So I can put in there, that if they, that here's the violations, that they're holding themselves out as the alarm system contractor. However, we believe they may be exempt based on all their other services. If they go ahead and get all these things done and taken care of, we'll just leave it with that letter of warning. But if not, if they just continue to operate as they're doing, we could reopen this and find a violation. Alternatively, we could do it would be the minimum, would be the recommendation. Alternatively, if we wanted to do a penalty for a violation of 6232-304 for engaging in the business of or holding themselves out as an alarm system contractor without certification.
Which to me, it sounds like what they're doing. They're calling themselves that they provide these services. They're an alarm system contractor, a business. So what information we have here makes me think they're training themselves as an alarm contractor. So therefore, they're in violation of not having a license, an unlicensed activity.
But Jesse, isn't this one of those where you could do the $1,000 or tell them that they need to get straight?
We could
Either get the license or get the exemption.
And that's what if I did a letter of warning on this one, I would put in there, you're subject to, a penalty realistically between $1,000 and a minimum $1,000 penalty for holding themselves out. But, if, at this time we'll instruct them to clear everything up. And if they don't within 30 days, we can reopen it and look at whether or not that penalty would be appropriate.
Okay, but you'd put the penalty of $1,000 in the notification.
I would put in there, and I would specifically say it's a minimum of $1,000, so that way they know that it can go higher than that.
Well, at least that'll get their attention. Or should.
Okay, so let me understand. So we would issue this letter of warning with the minimum penalty if they don't clear it up or get licensed or get their exemption within 30 days. Is that what I understand?
I think we would have to technically reopen the complaint to do that, just so we would have it clear with that. But that would be what I would put in there. So if that's what we did and that's what happened, it would come back before the board probably at the next meeting, because that would be just over that 30 days, and let you all know that they did not in fact clear everything up, and therefore be recommending a $1,000 penalty at that point.
Well, I see a blatant violation here. So I would like to see some kind of minimum penalty.
Okay. So I think that would be based on that 304 A for holding themselves out as a contractor without license, or an alarm system contractor without a license. Is that correct?
Yes, I mean, that would make sense.
Is that excuse me, is that a motion, Lou?
Yeah, I'll make the motion to assess the minimum penalty for unlicensed activity.
I'll second that. Doug Freaker.
Okay, we have a motion and a second to issue a $1,000 minimum civil penalty. Would you call the roll, please?
Scott Cockcroft,
Yes.
Doug Fraker,
Yes.
Lou Richard.
Yes.
The ayes have it, the motion carries to charge $1,000 for a violation of 6235-304A.
All right, thank you. Next, we'll move on to number 4, which is complaint number 2020016-051. This started as an industry complaint that alleged that respondent performed CCTV installation without a license. The complainant admitted to installing, the respondent, I should say, admitted to installing new cameras for a utility company, and that the cameras are used by the company to monitor its own equipment and make adjustments or inspections without having to physically walk to the equipment. The respondent denied that the cameras were being used for any type of alarm, fire, or burglary purposes. The complainant did have copies of the invoices, and his opinion was that the cameras are part of a repair and expansion of the company's CCTV system. The invoices indicated that there were, quote, wire runs installed, which may require an electrical license, which respondent does not have. The problem with this case is that if the cameras truly are for the company's convenience, they may not fit within the definition of an alarm system, as the cameras are not being used for the typical purposes that would fit within the statute. The respondent also states that the company does not typically install cameras, as it is a company that installs televisions and satellite services for televisions, which appears to be supported by its website and its name. It may be best to close this case with a letter of warning and a cease and desist letter. So therefore, the recommendation was a letter of warning and a cease and desist.
Do we have verification that these cameras are monitoring equipment at all?
We do.
The only thing I take exception to, I guess, is if you're doing televisions and satellites and you're only installing cameras for one customer, chances are you're not going to do it because you don't know what you're doing. So, and that's one of the things I see this whole camera deal going, is more and more people are saying, well, I'm only monitoring, we put in cameras monitoring equipment. They're not looking at people, they're looking at equipment. But you're still putting in surveillance cameras.
And I agree. I think that when we look at the actual type of cameras, they are cameras that are typically used for surveillance purposes. I think the concern is the statute's definition for an alarm system. It doesn't really fit for what they're actually using the cameras for. So it becomes
That's one of the statutes that we need to get straightened out during this whole sunset mess.
I think so, because I think the closest it would fit potentially, if we look at the definition in the statute of an alarm system, it's recording, viewing, monitoring, protecting against or avoiding probability of personal or property loss or injury resulting from fire, smoke, heat, burglary, theft, or other losses of that type. I think potentially, we could try to argue, if we felt like there was a violation that these cameras could be preventing other types of losses. They're using it to, monitoring equipment for some purpose. but it's not a fire loss. It's not a burglary loss. Whatever that other type of loss that we're trying to argue that it is. So I think that realistically, the cameras that they're using, do kind of use. I'm trying to think of a good way to put it. They're used for that type of purpose typically of, monitoring burglary or any type of other intrusion. But in this specific circumstance, they're claiming that no, we're using it to be able to make adjustments to our equipment. So that's where it gets a little bit messy with it.
Which I would think if they're doing inspections to utility equipment, if they're making adjustments and inspections, it could be related to fire and life safety.
I agree, and I think it would either fall under that or other loss types, and I think you could argue whether that's an economic loss or some other type of issue based on whatever they're making adjustments for. So that's where I think that it would fit within one of those. But their biggest thing is they keep saying no, it's not an alarm system because it's not, I guess, monitoring for any of those other purposes. But these are cameras specifically that are typically used for monitoring, people breaking in or burglary.
To me, it's clearly would fall under the statute, but it seems the legislature doesn't want us to enforce that.
Valid point there.
Well, and that's, we can, if we want to go with it being a violation, we do that minimum $1,000 penalty. If we want to try to enforce it, or we could try to do a cease and desist on it. I think the issue is going to be, it's an argument about whether or not, I guess, a camera, depending on how it's being used by the end user, it's going to always fall in the definition of an alarm system because it can do that type of services, or if the argument is based on what it's actually used for. So it's
have you spoken with the utility? Are they aware of were they concerned about the unlicensed activity, or?
They did not appear to be concerned with it. I believe when all this was going on, they still had him finish the work after they were aware of the complaint, if I remember the dates correctly. This may be one, if we do feel like that it is a violation of unlicensed activity. I know we typically have, if we have to have hearings, in this case could settle, but if we have to have hearings, we typically have those unlicensed cases in front of an administrative law judge alone. On an issue like this, since it may be a more technical argument, my recommendation would be that if it does have to go to a hearing, that we potentially have it in front of the board. So that way we can get all of the facts on the record to make sure that it's an adequate factual finding as to whether or not it's unlicensed activity.
Well, Jesse, isn't this a satellite company?
Yes, but they're not a large satellite company, if that makes sense. It's not a major company. They're very small, but they do, from what they allege and what their website shows, is they do basically TV mountings and wire installations with that.
And utility can be wide span. Utility can cover internet, phone, power, water. I mean,
well, the customer, the utility company, is a traditional utility company. I don't know if I can give more details on that, if that would have issues with it being anonymous, but the customer was a city utility company.
okay.
This does appear to be, the respondent appears to be a smaller, I think it's just 2 people. Realistically, it's a pretty small operation, and that from what they show with their gallery of work completed, is mostly television mounting and getting it hooked up to satellites and wire installations with that.
So what you're saying is it's not the consumer, it's not the person that they put a system in, it's the competitor that's complained.
Correct.
Which is the majority of our complaints, considering we're self-policing.
Right. And I do think from looking at the complainant, when we got his statement and some more information from him, his issue, I think he also was of the impression that the equipment was not being used for, traditional CCTV, monitoring services. I think he also believed that it was being used for, as it was said it was. But his issue was, well, these are cameras. They're installing cameras.
I'll make the motion that we send the letter of warning that they need to stop installing cameras unless they become licensed, whether it's for monitoring equipment or monitoring people. That this is your warning, without a penalty at this time, just a letter of warning.
This is Lou. I'll second that.
All right, we have a motion and a second to issue a letter of warning. Would you call the roll, please?
Scott Cockcroft,
Yes.
Doug Fraker,
Yes.
Lou Richard,
Yes.
motion carries.
All right, thank you. And that would be the last case on the legal report.
All right, and so where do we go from there? We are
Well, down to my section now, if you want me to take over, Scott.
okay. Do we have any appearances, or
That's fine. No, sir, we don't have any appearances.
okay?
We're going to pass through that. We're going to go to my administrative matters, which has already been sent out to you for April and May. And it still shows that we do have a vacancy. And I've been instructed that the governor's office is working diligently to get these positions filled. It just tells you when I've met with Ashley and with Jesse. If you have any questions, please stop me and ask me. The next one is rather interesting, is your budget. This is the latest budget I got, and it's April, and you're in the red or in a negative of $10,863. It's simply because we didn't have the revenue. If you look at above that says alarm revenue, we only took in $28,690. Normally, we're taking in $40,000 and $50,000 based on the two previous years. We may be somewhat in the same position for May. We didn't get that many more applications in that I could tell. Our applications have started picking back up, and this is the month of June. So it may still be kind of low during the month of June. I just don't know how we're going to come out of that. Right now, you have $37,535. As long as we end up with $1, we'll be okay. There's nothing else I can do here. I've done all I can do with moving our employees, watching the expenses. I did turn a report in that says I'm saving a lot of money, not me personally, the board's saving a lot of money by not having the board meetings in the office. To see if we could continue to do them electronically, but it may be up to the legislators how that's handled. Our next meeting is August the 20th. Now, whether that's going to be in the office, in our building, or whether it's going to be electronically, I'll let you know just as soon as I can find out about it. We will not. If I see that we're having any problems more than what we're having with the budget, I will contact each one of you individually about that. So I'll give you a heads up on what we have. Next one is legislation. I'll turn it over to Ashley.
As you know, the legislature, the General Assembly had been out because of the pandemic. When they came back in session, they didn't pick up any new legislation. We were informed that the legislation for alarms may be taken up at the top of 2021. So in essence, what that means, June 30th, the board essentially does expire by statutory terms. We go into a wind down period, but that period, we're still going to operate business as usual. By language of the statute, the board continues with its authority to regulate the industry, so we'll continue to do that. The hope is that legislation is picked up January 2021, like I said, and we will go from there. That's the only update that I had, Cody, unless there was something else I'm forgetting.
No, I believe that's all we had. The next thing on the agenda is a request for an extension, and we do not have any requests. So we're going to move right on down to the criminal history review, gentlemen. This gentleman here, you go ahead and look through your paperwork. He was actually had 4 charges, but he was convicted of number 2 and number 4 when you look at the documents. He did provide his written explanation. He did get charged with armed robbery and theft by taking, which was an automobile. He got 20 years. He spent 5 years in prison and 15 years on probation. I'll give you a few minutes to look that over.
Cody, so if I'm doing the math right, probation ended 2015?
Oh, okay, let me get my paper here. 19, 20, 1, 2, 3, 4. Yes, that's what I got, 2019. We're right there at it.
2019 or 2015?
I had 2019, but my addy might not be correct.
Okay.
I might have to go back and look.
Cody, I count 2015 as well.
You
Looks
got
like the
2015?
disposition,
Okay.
August of 2000, and if he had 5 years sentence and then 15 probation, I thought I thought they ran concurrent. I thought the 5 was before that, but hang on, let me look again.
Looks like both, it does say breaks out both of them. If they are, it looks like they're served together on that one document. Right, they dismissed, it looks like count 1 and 4, and they, 1 and 3, and then they charged them with count 2 and 4. Count 2 was 20 years, 5. That's how you get your 5 years in prison and 15 probation.
You're right.
Okay, then.
Mm-hmm. So if we're looking at that, and then based on when he started at this company, looking at the application, that was pretty much right after he got off of probation. It looked like his application said he started working in this particular position in September of 2019.
Yes. And he's an inspection and service division manager.
That's what I saw.
And then I see this separate incident in 2004, but if I'm reading right, there was no charges.
Yeah, dismissed.
Okay.
There's no chart, nothing there.
Okay.
That's true. We're only looking at this one thing. At 20 years.
We're also looking at somebody, it seems most likely this is for fire alarm installation or sprinkler. He's already working in the sprinkler industry. So under the guidelines of, we're supposed to look at what the position would be.
Right. That's why I said he's some kind of manager that he's doing right now. Inspection and service division manager.
Does the company that he's working for have what classifications? Just fire? Do we know?
That I don't know. I can look it up though. We've got the name of the company here. I'm sure you do too. It's on his application. Just give me a moment here. I'll have to move around in the system. Excuse me. Right there. All right. Company, and it is.
You need the license number, Cody?
I got the.
Okay.
I think I've got it. It's just the system is kind of slow this morning. They're only in fire. The only classification is fire.
Okay, thanks.
And if we're going to deny it, we will have to take it to the Fresh Start Act. Okay, gentlemen, we have any comments?
I was still through some of it, but
Okay.
um, we don't really have any supporting documentation on. I mean, if he has all this training and stuff, sounds like he's put forth an effort to um, better himself. We don't have any letters of recommendation. We don't have anything qualifying agent. We don't have anything else supporting this, do we?
No, we don't. You want me to go back and, well, I'd have to get a letter from the QA. It'll be what, in August before we get to address this one again. Of course, he continues to work until we say yes or no, or we say no, I should say. Like I said, it looks like he went right to work with them right out. when he got out of jail anyway, prison. Been with them a while, so they know about his. But you're right. I don't have anything from the qualifying agent. I'll put this off until the August the 20th and try to and ask the qualifying agent to give me a letter. See if we can get some personal recommendations. Usually, what we try to do.
I'm inclined to approve him, but I would feel better with some other documentation to the fact that he had passed these other trainings and things that he says he's taken, and that we have some letters of recommendation. What are the other members' feelings?
You know, and looking at what the company does,
Right.
it's you know, if he's taking the time to get nice at 3, backflow, you know, it's not you're typically not in customers' homes where you're worried about that situation. So I'm gonna go ahead and make the motion that we go ahead and grant him his registered employee. That's what he was going for, wasn't it? Registered employee?
Yes.
Right.
I'm gonna make the motion that we go ahead and approve him for a registered employee.
All right. So we have a motion. Do we have a second? I'll go ahead and I'll second motion to approve. So we have a motion and a second to approve.
All right.
Registered employee.
Scott Cockroft,
Yes.
Doug Breaker,
Yes.
Lou Richard.
Nay.
Was that a negative?
I think
Yes, nay. It was a nay.
I must be having trouble with my headset. I'm terribly sorry. Is that a yes or a no?
It's a no.
All right. Sorry about that. I just couldn't. All right. There's only 3 of you, so the motion carries. He has been approved. To make us all feel a little bit better, I will still contact the qualifying agent and see if I can get a letter of recommendation.
And can we get copies of the NICET certifications and his certifications? Can we ask for that?
Yes, we can do that. And I may have that. We just probably didn't put it in the packet. Let me look at his file just a second here. I might.
Cody, I did look and there's nothing in there.
Whose music is going off? That mine? Okay. Okay, there's not in there. All right, I can do that. I'll make a note to see if I'll get the letter of recommendation from as a qualifying agent. At least they'll know his background and ask for his certificates.
Okay.
Great. Thanks.
All right, that's all we had was just that one criminal record. The next thing is the education report. Shawnee was going to talk to you about the question that we had. Shawnee, you want to go ahead and address that one?
Yes. So I've got a question from a company who is asking if they can start doing CEU certificates electronically. Instead of signing each one of them individually and mailing them in, they would like to go ahead and just sign them electronically.
On just the certificates.
Yes. So if they go online and they take an online course, or if they go to a show, instead of handing out the certificates with the signature actually signed, because we have requested that they always be signed, they want to know if they can actually just do them electronically now and send them out to the student, and then also send them out to us just as PDFs.
Because I think some people have already been sending them as a PDF, but they may actually be scanning an original signature.
Correct. I did ask Megan. She said she's not received any electronically, so that's why we're bringing it to the board, because they're not actually signed, hand signed. They are just electronically signed.
So the question would be, what would keep me from creating my own?
They also did suggest if they do it in blue ink or blue font, whatever they think that y'all would take.
Is there any concern from the staff on accepting them as far as being able to verify them?
No, I don't believe we have any questions about it. They can send them in like that, and then if we find out that they made their own at a later date, then there's disciplinary action that would need to be taken.
Is there any cross check anymore against the, a lot of times they'll have a sign up sheet at a class or supposedly to verify. I mean, do they ever send that information in or?
As Oh, sorry, Cody.
I'm sorry, go
The
ahead, John.
the one company that is asking this question did say they can send in a roster sheet. And Megan, you can correct me if I'm wrong, but I believe you said you don't use those, but they said they are willing to send those in as well. So they know that they were registered and they should have been at that course.
I mean, I'm okay with
Yeah.
electronic, but I would think it would be nice to have some way to double check it like that.
Okay.
Usually when they send the roster in, all we're going to do is just do check marks, but we have to have the certificate. We do not go by just the roster is what we're saying.
Right. It's just if you had the roster, if there was any question about a certificate, you could at least verify it.
Correct.
So do you need we need a motion to accept electronic signatures on CEUs? Is that what?
Yes, probably. And also if you would like it in a certain font, because they did say they could do it in a blue font, where the signature should, the signature goes, or if you just want it black and white, however.
Well, usually when you do blue, it means it's an original, doesn't it?
Yes, they are willing to do it in a blue font. Excuse me.
Well, I mean, let me ask Ashley then, are we trying to tell them how to do their certificates?
I mean,
Because
my suggestion wouldn't be to dictate what font they use. I mean, if you're going to accept an electronic signature, you would just accept it.
signature, yeah, right, because what if another company did theirs in green or just in black or something other? No, I don't think I can tell them what to do. Oh, okay, so we can just say, yes, they can do it electronically and in any color. We accept any color. We're more interested in the roster and verification than we are the color font they're using.
Okay. Well, I'll make a motion that we accept EU certificates electronically with electronic signatures to be accompanied by a roster from the course giver, the trainer.
I'll second that.
Right, so we have a motion and a second.
All right. Scott Cockcroft?
Yes.
Doug Fraker?
Yes.
Lou Richard?
Yes.
The ayes have that motion carried. We will let them know that has been approved. Now, the next thing is the actual courses, and it's already been sent out. Scott, we had a little problem with the one that you have. We're experiencing a problem with a lot of them, and they're really working us to death to try to get everything that we're going to require. But Scott, you got the Access Communication, Discovery Access Network Audio Solutions, 2 hours, and they want it, for some reason, they want it for continued and employee and initial. What's your opinion on that?
Well, it definitely wouldn't be for initial or employee, just it would only be continuing education. It's also, I mean, it does apply to security because it's a little out there as far as the audio portion, but if someone's doing video monitoring, they may well want to be able to talk back over speakers, and that's how this would apply into security. But it's just 2 hours, and I just don't see how that would be good for employee training or initial training.
All right.
Cody, real quick, I did get a response from them, and they still have not collected the course information, but they are going to do this in person at the TNSI trade show. So that's where it's going to be conducted at.
All right, then that would be for continuing education.
Okay, great.
All right, Scott. Let's go down to Lou. You got AMG Uniview Tech, body temperature measurement solutions and deployment, 2 hours of continuing education.
Yep, I was a little bit on the fence with this one because it really has nothing to do with security or so on and so forth. But in this day and age, I think it's a good course. So I'm going to go ahead and recommend 2 CEU hours.
All right, thank you. So Doug, you got ZK TECO USA, creating a safe and secure facilities and visitor management solutions in 2020. And this is going to be shown, this is going to also be at the association trade show. They want 2 hours of continuing ed.
And then they did ask, we finally got that they're only asking for 2 hours. And like we said, during this time, it is mainly talking about body temperature monitoring and things to that effect, which we're all starting to see inquiries now with COVID and all that. So I have no issues approving this one for 2 hours.
All right. All right, gentlemen, let's get a motion if we can to approve the 3 courses that have been presented today. Access, AMG, and ZK TECO USA. If I can have a motion, please.
I'll make the motion to approve all 3 courses.
Or just for continuing ed though?
Yes.
The first one is just for, yes, all 3 are continuing education only.
I'll second.
All right, so we have a motion and a second. You'll call the roll.
Scott Cockcroft,
Yes?
Doug Fraker,
Yes.
Richard.
Yes.
All right, the motion carries. All 3 have been approved, and all 3 are for continuing education only. All right, that's good. We got that. Course review, we don't have any, do we, Shauna?
No, ma'am, that's all we got.
Do we have any? I don't have any unfinished business. Anybody on the board got any? How about new business? Well, if it's okay with board members and okay with Scott, we'll get a vote for adjournment.
Sounds good to me.
I'll second that.
Okay, with Scott and Doug, right? All right. Scott Cockcroft,
Yes.
Doug Fraker,
Yes.
Lou Richard.
Yes.
All right, the ayes have it. Gentlemen, I believe we are adjourned.
Have a good day.
Thank you.
Thank you so
Talk soon.
much, everyone. We appreciate that.